I was sitting at a dining room table in a 100-year-old farmhouse in Arlington, and my client, my company had done a modern renovation a couple of years earlier for him and his wife, and he took a piece of paper and slid it across to me, and he said, "Lou, we want to sell our house in about a year. We're moving to Florida. Here's a list of things that I think need to be done to the home, but I want you and your help to get everything that I can't do, that he can't do, done, and add anything to the list." So with that, I looked at that and we talked about their plans to move to Florida. They were having a custom home built down in Florida, and but in the meanwhile, he was really handy type kind of homeowner. He said, "Listen, when you live in a 100-year-old farmhouse, you have to be handy. You have to be able to fix things yourself. Otherwise, it'll just drive you crazy." So I said, "Okay, let's start at the bottom." So we walked down to the basement and looked at, along with his list, looked at the things in the basement, and I started adding things. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. This doesn't need to be done. This can be done, but it's not going to give you a return on investment, but it may look a little bit nicer when the house is ready to go on the market. So we went through each floor, the basement, the main level, the second floor, and then the attic, which was converted to a beautiful bedroom up there, and kind of a loft type bedroom, spectacular actually. And we made this list, and he said, "Okay, I'm gonna tackle all these things that I can, and then I'll get back to you." So a couple months went by, and he called me up and said, "Hey, come back over. I want to go over the list with you one more time, show you what I've done, and see what else needs to be done." So over the next couple of months, that was kind of our thing that was going on. He would work on the house. I would come by. I would look at things, make some suggestions, things that were out of his scope, like refinishing the floors, fixing the crack in the countertop, getting some appliances repaired, things that were out of his scope. I was bringing in my people. So as a custom builder, I have a group of subcontractors and vendors that are really they're the top-notch people in Northern Virginia, and so I was bringing these people in to help them out as we're going along, and everything was moving along pretty well. And we're getting ready to February, and he's like, "Okay, our house isn't going to be ready until after June or July," and so we're thinking about maybe we're just going to take our time to do this thing and slow down a little bit. And I said, "Well, before we do that, let's bring in my stager," because my stager at the time was not only a fantastic stager, she was an interior designer. So I brought her in, and we walked the house, and I said, "Okay, what are the colors that we need to paint in this house? Because the house needed to be repainted. What color of the floors do we need to do? Because they had dogs, and if you've ever had dogs, and I've had dogs, after a while their claws tend to scratch up the floors." So all of us walked the house, and we decided what was going to happen and how it was going to be happening. So then the question was, when was this going to occur as far as finishing all the items? And then when was I going to get a chance to come in and start doing the marketing aspect? But before the marketing aspect, we still had a boatload of things to do. And we had some pretty interesting challenges along the way. So the big challenge, one of the challenges, or discussions, wasn't a challenge really, it was just a discussion, was a light fixture that was above the dining room table. And it was that light fixture had a lot of meaning to them and to my clients, and I understood that. But the light fixture didn't quite translate to the direction where the stager was going to take the house. Then the other questions that the clients had was, well, how much furniture do we leave in the house? Or do we take it all out and then stage it with all new stuff? And we went through all these different questions. The stager came back in. We were talking about all the pros and cons and how to get the house ready to really optimize it to get the maximum price for it. Turns out, or not turns out, but the stager came in and said, listen, we should really change that light because this is the way I envision this area to be. And then the stager said, the high top table that, while it's really a beautiful high top table, again, isn't going to fit the theme that she had planned for the house. So we got into an agreement of what was going to happen with all the furniture was going to come out. And at that stage, my client had done everything that he could possibly do. So I started bringing in my crews. I brought in my floor guys. We sanded and finished the floors, and the first floor was white oak, and it was easy for us to get a color into it. But on the second floor, this is at the 100-year-old floor, was heart of pine. And when we sanded the heart of pine and put our first coat on it, it was red. I mean, just beet red. It was beautiful, but it didn't match anything else that we were doing. So we brought the stager came back in, and the floor guy and the stager and I ended up doing all these samples, custom samples about how do we tone down that heart of pine and make it. We weren't going to make it blend in exactly, but how could we make it so it looked compatible and it just didn't jump out at you. So I have a fantastic floor finisher, Miguel, and he came in and we ran a bunch of samples and we finally got it right. And so the floor guy came in, he was finished. We had, like I said, the granite countertop was repaired, the appliances that were needed to be repaired. Electrician came in, he fixed the little things that my client wasn't able to do. He rehung a new light fixture. I brought my painter in and we painted the house entirely the way, in the colors that the stager had suggested. Meanwhile, the owner had the roof redone because it needed to be redone. And so we're getting to that final stage. Now, one of the things that I don't want to say I insist on it, but one of the things that I make sure are all the houses that I list for sale is I go through the house and I change all the light bulbs, at least all the light bulbs that I can change, and I change them to a bright white LED. And here's the thing. I walk so many houses for sale that a light bulb is out here, a light bulb is out there. And what that psychologically does is that it gets, what's the deferred maintenance? If they can't change a light bulb, what else is going on? What haven't they done with the house? The other thing is by having the same color throughout the house, it creates a uniformity. So it doesn't have the psychological thing of people walking in and going, oh, the color's changing, this is changing. So that's one of the things that I don't want to say I insist on, but it's one of the things that I do as part of my listing thing. So we changed all the light bulbs out. The other thing that I do is I always repaint the front door. Now this front door had been painted, a couple 6-8 months earlier, so it didn't need to be repainted, and it was painted in the color that we agreed on. So I didn't have to repaint the front door. But then we spruced up the landscaping. We did the landscaping. We got the mulch going on. There's something about when you walk up to a house, especially in the springtime, and you smell that fresh mulch and the flowers popping up. This is a psychological thing about, wow, this is, to me, it creates excitement. And I think it creates excitement in other people's minds because now they're looking at a well-maintained front yard, a beautiful front door. And when they open the door and step in to a beautifully staged place, then it really creates that moment in time that we're after. So we got the house ready. All the work was done. Stager came in and she just knocked it out of the park with her staging. And, we don't stage the whole house, and we don't stage it to where it's like over the top, but we stage it to where people can imagine themselves living in the house. And one of the things that we had is we had the original living room with the fireplace, and the stager did this beautiful, beautiful sitting area there where people could look at with wonderful artwork. And then in the sunroom in the back with we had soaring windows out the back, and these clear story windows in this beautiful, beautiful backyard. And she positioned the seating there to where people could sit. And then we, then it was time to start getting this thing ready. So the steps after the house is ready, what I do is I come in and I bring in a photographer. So we brought this photographer in. He was a marvelous photographer. We brought him in at the late afternoon, and then he came back in the evening, and we took some fantastic evening shots that really, with the sky and in the evening shots, the lights on in the house, and we got it from the front, from the back. It really turned out to be a beautiful, beautiful picture of how the house looks like as the day changes. And one of the things that I did, and I play around photography a lot, is I took a couple pictures of the front of the house, and I took them in black and white. And the reason I took them in black and white is sometimes when I do my listing presentations or listing photographs on Bright MLS, which is our MLS that we have here in Northern Virginia, sometimes I will post the first photograph in black and white. And the reason I do that, and sometimes it stumps my clients, they're going, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, just look at it. And what it does is everything's in color, and people are flipping through these things, and all of a sudden there's black and white, and it catches somebody's eye just enough to stop. And that's all I'm trying to do with it. Anyway, so we got the photographs ready. We got the brochures done. Then the question became a question of timing. When do we put it on the market? And they were like, well, we're not quite ready. Our house isn't quite ready in Florida, but the client had already moved out. They were in a rental, and everything else was in storage. And I normally don't push people as far as when to put things on the market. But I said, listen, we're getting to the end of the spring market. We have to get the house going at the end of May at the latest. And so we pushed to get everything done. It was all ready to go. Meanwhile, I had a sign out front. It said, "Coming soon." And, this is a busy street, and all of a sudden as soon as that sign went up, I'm getting like phone calls. Can we look at the house? Can we walk the house? And the way coming soon works in Northern Virginia is that, first of all, I didn't put it I didn't broadcast it on the website. It was just a sign. Coming soon, we're not allowed to let anybody into the house. And there's a good reason for that. So I'm like, you're welcome to walk the yard. And then people are like, well, we want to give you an offer today. They said, what do you want? I said, we haven't determined the price yet, but, give us an offer. We'll consider it. Depending on market trends, I typically won't take an offer of a house before I put it on, because sometimes we don't really know what the market's going to tell us. So we got everything ready, and I said, listen, your house is really unusual, and we're getting a lot of interest. This is the way I'm going to market the house. On a Monday, or Sunday, I'm going to put it on Coming Soon on Bright, which means that all the real estate agents that are in my Bright area have an opportunity to see this house that's coming soon. I said, we're going to push it to live. So we're going to allow agents to walk the house, make appointments to walk it on Thursday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going to have 3 open houses. So Friday evening, we had a kind of this wine and cheese open house. Very, very casual. I think we started from 6 to 8 o'clock. It was really beautiful weather outside, and the house was just packed with people. And the thing about an open house on a Friday night is that it's not this jam of people running through the house, boom, 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 and then out the door. It's, people take their time, so I'd walk out and there's people on the deck. They've been there for 35, 45 minutes. They're chatting about the house. They're chatting about how they would live in it. They're chatting about themselves living in the house, taking ownership of the house. And it was a very casual type event. And then Saturday and Sunday we had our normal open houses. And the thing that I noticed with this house, which was different than some of my other open houses, is that when people came in, a lot of people, I see them, they're sitting in the living room, they're chatting. I'm back in the sunroom, they're sitting back in the sunroom chatting. This property had a beautiful deck outside. It had an Ipe deck with just blew your mind, and the backyard was just spectacular for Arlington. It was a huge backyard. And so people were out there sitting on the steps chatting, and it was just a very casual time. We did get a number of showings. We were booked with showings on Thursday and Friday, and we had a number of showings that people brought in home inspectors so they could pre-inspect the house. The question that we were jumping back to the pricing, the question that my clients had is they had in their mind what they wanted to get out of the house. And I agreed with him. I thought that was a reasonable price given the market conditions and where everything was. But when I ran the data was about $100,000 less. The market analysis, I should say. And I at that point, even if we priced it at what the market analysis was, we were still pushing the market for that neighborhood, for that type of house, 100-year-old farmhouse. So I don't remember exactly what we listed it at. I think we listed it at like $1.6 million. And then in our conversation with my clients and I, we were hoping they would get, $1.7 million, or a little bit over $1.7 million. We got we had a couple offers that were just lowball. They were just totally out of the realm of consideration. And then we had, 3 offers, or 2 offers that were actually really solid. Came back and renegotiated the offers, and my clients got an offer a little bit north of 1.7 for the property. And here's the irony about me pushing them to get the house on the market is that 3 days after the contract was ratified, the buyer had locked in their interest rates. Interest rates jumped. I mean, they just jumped, and the whole market just went stopped. And my clients called me up. They said, thanks for pushing us a little bit, because otherwise we don't know where we would be. And at that point, there was a lot of question what was going on in the marketplace, and nobody really knew where things were going to happen or where they were going to go. So it's a little long-winded in here, but the whole idea of preparation is that to prepare the house correctly takes time. It takes a special look at a house. It takes a look at what is a good return on investment, what's not a good return on investment, then how do we get this done so you, if the seller, gets maximum return on investment. if you're thinking about buying or selling in the next 6 to 12 months and you'd like to have a conversation, it all starts with the conversation. Feel free to reach out to me, shoot me a DM or contact me with my contact information below. Till then, take care.